Hi guys, I'm Jess and welcome back to 14 Flips. In today's video we are going to talk a little bit about the operational side of Flip 3, which is the leaflet distribution. And I'm going to hopefully forearm you with all of the information and tips and tricks that you may need if you was looking to do this either as a flip or if you were looking to start this as a low cost investment, sustainable business that you could potentially grow into a full-time business. So you've gone out, as discussed in the previous videos, you've got your leaflets printed, you've done your business-to-business sales, you've picked up some customers, you've gone out, you've met the customer, you've signed them up, they've signed their account sheet, they've given you the first consignment. Great, you're ready to start going. So what do we do next? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off our sales hat and we're going to put on our operations hat, one of the many hats that you wear when you're trying to run a small business. So you're going to collect the customer's leaflets, you're going to bring them back to your place of operation, and the first thing that you're going to have to do is to check weigh the leaflets. Now the reason for this, there's always a lot of printers overs. The customer may be mistaken, they could have given you more or less than they believe. So the first thing you're going to do is check weigh the leaflets. Now with our first few customers, I've filmed myself check weighing some, and I'm going to cut to that in the video now so that you can just have an idea of what it is that we do, and then I'll see you back here to talk about the next part. Hi guys, so we're going to talk today a little bit about the next stage of the operation. So you've gone out, you've done your marketing, you've picked up a customer, you've signed them up, you've collected their leaflets. Great. So what do we do next? So with leaflets, you never want to assume that the number written on the box or the number that the customer has given you is entirely correct. Not to say that the customer would try to have you deliver leaflets for free, although it does happen quite often. But you get a lot of what's called printers overs, printers extras, and it's kind of the same basis as like a baker's dozen. A baker will always cook an additional 1 or 2 items, and in case one gets burnt or isn't quite right. And leaflet printers do kind of the same thing. They're always going to print extras just to allow for smudges or cutting short or any number of things that can happen during the leaflet printing process. So you're always going to have some extras. If the box says 1,000, you're always probably going to have 1,020 or 1,030. This is just quite a common practice in printing. So how do we check it? Obviously now here with this run, we've been commissioned to deliver to 10,000 letterboxes. And there's 2 separate customers here at the moment. So in theory, we should have 10,000 for each customer. Now, we could sit here for the next 3 weeks and count every leaflet individually, but that's going to take a very, very long time and leaves quite a large margin for error, as when you're counting, you may get it wrong. So the best way to do this is to weigh the leaflets, to do what's called check weighing. And again, this is quite a common practice within leaflet distribution. Any distribution company, whether they're a private company or the Royal Mail, whoever it may be, is going to have some kind of check process, and it is more than likely 9 times out of 10 going to involve weighing the leaflets. So how do we do this? I'm going to show you a little bit about the process of doing this now. So what we're doing here, guys, as you can see, we've got all of our leaflets here boxed up. All here ready to be check weighed and ready to be sorted into the appropriate destinations. So straight away off the bat, we know that something is not quite right with these leaflets. Now, both of these are allegedly got 1,200 leaflets per box. Now the first customer has given us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes. So straight away we're assuming that we've been given potentially a box short here. We should have 9,800 of their leaflets if the count was exact. And the second customer has given us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 boxes, which puts him over the 10,000 mark, again, if everything was to be believed and to be exact. So we're going to check weigh them and find out exactly what we've got here for each customer. I suspect that customer 1 we've probably got around 10,000, if not ever so slightly over. Customer 2 with that extra box, I suspect we're going to be quite considerably over the 10,000 required. So the first thing you're going to want is a set of scales. I would suggest initially using kitchen type scales. They're going to be large enough to put the leaflets on and give a fairly accurate in-gram reading, rather than bathroom scales that have got a lot more margin for error. If you're going to do this long term and it's something that you're looking to build a sustainable business on, you can get very sensitive like industry recognized scales, and they're essentially large scales, almost bigger, you know, like when you go to the post office and you weigh a parcel, they're going to be something along those lines. But we don't have that at the minute, they're quite expensive, so we're going to check weigh using a pair of kitchen scales. So here we are, guys, we've got a pair of kitchen scales. Now you're going to want a flat surface for this to allow accurate readings, and the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to take one single individual leaflet and you're going to weigh it. And we can see that this one leaflet comes out to 11 grams. So we're then going to make a note, one leaflet is 11 grams. So we know that one weighs 11 grams, right? So to create a little bit of consistency, you're then going to want to weigh a quantity of 10. So we're going to physically count out 10. So which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now at 11 grams each, 10 should come out to around 110 grams, if that's to be correct, more or less. So as we can see here, guys, we've weighed them and it does come out to 110 grams. So now we know that 10 weigh 110 grams. We would expect 20 to weigh 220 grams. So we're going to count out another 10 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we would expect this, if consistency is to be believed, to be approximately 220 grams. And as we can see, guys, this has come out to exactly 220 grams. So then what we're going to do is we're going to scale that up. Now that we know that an individual leaflet weighs 110 grams, we are going to scale it up to 50. So 50 should weigh approximately 550 grams. So we're going to go ahead now and count out in quantities of 50. And then we're going to count out a quantity of 100. And the reason for doing this is just to check consistency. You don't want to weigh a single leaflet and then go straight to weighing 1,000, because there may be a slight inconsistency. You want to weigh a few different quantities just to confirm that you know how much one weighs, how much 10, how much 50, how much 100. And this is going to allow you to have a lot more accuracy in the overall process. So there we go, guys, we counted out 100. So if one weighs 11 grams, 10 weigh 110 grams, 20 weigh 220, and so on, we would expect 100 to weigh approximately 1,100 grams. It's come slightly under that. Again, you're going to have a slight discrepancy in it. With scales like this, you're not going to get down to the exact leaflet, but it's going to give you a really good ballpark figure. So we can see that this is now been weighed out to 100 leaflets, weighs 1.097, which is close enough to now scale that up. So we're now going to scale it up to ideally 1,000 if they'll all fit on here. If not, we may have to do it in bundles of maybe 250 or 500. But yeah, we're going to do that now. So what we're doing here now, guys, is we're going to remove one entire box of leaflets. We've got our stack of 100 already put to one side. As you can see, we are entirely emptying out this box of leaflets so that we can then weigh them and start putting them back in the box. Now, if you had the time and resource to do this, you may want to weigh every single individual box. But I tend to find that if you weigh 2 boxes, you can then do the math, and that tends to be accurate enough to give you an idea. As we say, without the exact scales and a couple of bodies to do this, there's always going to be a slight discrepancy. If you end up with, you know, a dozen or 2 more at the end, then so be it. But the idea is to make sure you're not distributing hundreds or thousands of leaflets for free of charge. Now, as we're going along, I think we're going to weigh these in quantities of 100 because the scales won't allow us to go beyond sort of 250 anyway. So as you're going along, weigh these in quantities of 100, and then we can note it down. You're going to want like a notebook to note down the numbers so that you can then do the maths at the end. Okay guys, so that's the first box weighed. The scales actually show that that box is slightly short of 1,200. There's approximately 1,150 in there. They don't always pack these boxes uniformly, so I suspect some of the other boxes may have more, some will have less. But this one's okay. We're going to make a note, approximately 20 to 50 leaflets short. We're going to weigh 1 more box. You always want to weigh 2 to provide consistency, and then we'll be able to, doing the math, add it all together and make sure it's okay, and then we're going to check weigh the second customer. Alright guys, so that's the first customer weighed in. We found a slight discrepancy in the boxes. They're actually coming in slightly under 1,200, but you're talking 20 to 50 leaflets a box. Now, I suspect that there'll be more in the other boxes. We could, if we wanted to be super efficient, go through and weigh all of the boxes, but it takes a lot of time. We're not going to be able to do that, unfortunately. So we've got, say, an average of 1,200 per box. We've got we've got 9 boxes, which gives us 10,600 leaflets. And we've been commissioned to deliver 10,000. So we actually have 600 leaflets more. So that is something we're going to have to call the customer before we start distribution and discuss with them, just to let them know, look, you've given us 600 more leaflets than we require. Would you like them returned, or would you like us to talk about distributing them into another area for you and obviously charge you for them? So we're going to go ahead now and weigh the second customer. We're going to repeat the exact same process again. You'll also start to see that size of leaflets can vary quite a lot. The weight is also going to vary. So this customer's boxes, you can see, are very large. Don't know if you can quite see how big they are. This customer's boxes are considerably smaller, but their leaflet is smaller in size. Now, you always want to try and be transparent and communicating with the customer, because not only will you sometimes find overs, If you find that you've got under the amount, you should always tell the customer, especially if it's a new customer, because business owners are smart, they're shrewd. They may be looking to test you. They may intentionally give you a box less to see if you're going to tell them and be honest or not. So you always want to be honest with people in this industry. So we're just doing the second customer, guys. One weighs 90, one weighs 9, 10 weigh 90, 100 should weigh 900. So we're going to go ahead and check all that off, do the numbers, and check theirs now. So they're all weighed in, guys. We've got 9 boxes from the first customer, so we've got 10,800 leaflets, plus a few overs. We're going to say it's in the region of 10,900. So we've got like 900 extras. We're going to need to speak to the customer, find out what would you like to do with the additional 900. Do you want them returning, or would you like to make arrangements to have them delivered somewhere else for a further charge? From customer number 2, we've collected 8 boxes. We've got 9,600 from him. With overs, we've got around 9,680 in the region of. So we're slightly under what he said he's going to give. So again, we're going to reach out to the customer and tell him you've given us this many. In theory, that should still be enough to cover the area required. By the time we take out no junk mails, non-accessible flats and things like this, it should be enough to cover the area, but we're going to have to obviously speak to him and see what he'd like to do about that. Okay guys, so that's great. You've check weighed the leaflets, you've verified the quantity, you've spoken to the customer, you've let them know they're either over or under, and you've made arrangements for what to do with the overs, and if there's not enough to distribute the area that they have selected, you've made them aware and found out where they would like to leave off, where's their priority area if you don't have enough. So the next thing you're going to look to do, you're going to want to plan the route. Now, we spoke previously about how to find out how many addresses are in any given area. You can consult Royal Mail, or you can consult other rival leaflet companies in the area. Again, you can't use their information as a sales tool, and you can't really use it to share with anybody, because then you could get in trouble. You're technically taking their material. However, it is online, it is in a public domain. If you extract that information and use that to create your own form, I think it falls maybe in a grey area, but in my world, you're not really doing anything wrong. The information is there in a public domain already. So you're going to find out how many is in a particular area. Now, there's a number of ways that you can divide a postcode up into various sections. And each company, Royal Mail, other leaflet companies, are going to have a slightly different variation of this. I think the best idea is to try and create your own by collaborating all of the information that you can find, and making various maps. So you can use Google Draw on maps. That actually allows you to draw and print off various sections of map. Or the most rudimental way that I found is to simply cut and paste and draw the sections on actual cut and paste maps. It works just as effectively, guys, to be honest with you. So you're going to want to plan the routes. Normally you want to have approximately 1,000 addresses, give or take, in each section, because that equates to about a day's work. If you're employing people, you're probably going to pay them by the 1,000 addresses visited if they're home distributors. So you're going to want to try and divvy it up so that there's, on average, approximately 1,000 addresses in each route. So you're going to end up with something like this, which will give you a screenshot of an area, an overall map, yeah? You're then going to use the information you've collaborated to divide it, rather than giving this whole map to someone, because there's a lot there. And how you're going to screenshot it and divide it up is entirely up to you. But you can see, like, this particular section here with some of this is going to have 1,000. This is going to be about 800. On the other side here, you can see, again, This altogether is going to be approximately 600 if memory serves me right, referring to my information sheet. So you're going to want to divide it up into sections, and then you can work on those sections. Now you may get through more than one section in a day. You may find that your home distributors are able to do more than one section in a week, but you're going to want to have sections so that you know as well where to leave off. And while you're doing it, you're going to want to make sure you don't half chop any roads. So for example, you know, this road here, Landsma Road, runs from here to here. So if you was giving this route to 2 different home distributors, which one of them does this road? You don't want to cut it in the middle or make it complicated. So you're going to have to decide who does this road. Do you want this road to be part of the map here and this person does it? Or do you want the road to be part of this map here and this person does it? But no matter how you do it, try to make it clear. Especially with high roads, you need to know who's doing what part of this road. You need to make that clear to the droppers. So for example, if these are different sections on each side of the road, the person doing this section is going to do this side of the road. The person doing this section is going to do that side of the main road. And you're going to want to have clear leave off points. So for this one, for example, you may say from the roundabout here, or from this road here, that's where you stop on the high road. For this one, you may want to say from here on the roundabout is where you stop off on the high road, and then the next map will start after the roundabout where the next lot of houses begin. But you want to make sure that you're being quite clear in this, especially when you get to a stage where you're getting other people involved. I mean, for yourself as well, if you're distributing yourself, you need to make sure that you know where you've left off, because you're not going to do this all in one day, and you are going to have points where you need to remember, okay, I finished here yesterday and I'm starting here tomorrow. So once you've planned the route, you know where you're going to go, you know what you're going to do. You're going to want to track the routes. Now, there's a million different ways to track the route. When I used to do this full time, I had 2 different types of trackers. I had little USB trackers, and I also had a live trackers that run through apps. There is a cost associated with these, so I would say initially you're better off taking advantage of the free apps that are out there on smartphones. I would suggest using either Cycle app, or there's other various like running fitness apps, but they're great things that people will use to track their runs or their walks. These work quite effectively. Strava, this sort of thing. The only thing they won't do, they won't show going up and down the driveways, which is what my old tracking used to have. It was very, very efficient, but the cost involved with it, especially initially, you can start out with some sort of free app, and you can have home distributors, as you employ them, track the routes. Anybody you may have working alongside you tracking it. Now, this obviously serves 2 purposes. You want to know that the people that you're employing to do it are doing what they've been asked to do. You want to be able to know where they've gone and where they haven't gone. They may miss a road, they may miss an area, simple human error. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there that may take advantage and decide, you know what, it's too much hard work, I'm going to throw these in the bin, and I'm not going to deliver them, I'm going to say that I've delivered them. So to avoid that, you need to track the routes. Even if you're delivering it all yourself, or with somebody who is 100% trustworthy, you're going to have customers who sometimes perhaps either don't get the response that they was hoping for, or they may have someone who lives on a road and the house that the person lives in is the only one that's been missed through human error. But because that one's missed, they're going to say you haven't delivered any of the leaflets, and you're going to have problems getting paid. So to cover yourself, you're always going to want to track the routes by hook or crook, by whatever method you deem to be the best and most effective for you. So that's great. You've planned the route, you've weighed the leaflets, you go out to actually start making deliveries. You are going to come across some problems during delivery. A lot of the common problems that you may face are You may come to flats and you'll have trouble accessing them. A lot of flats have outside letterboxes, and some flats you may be able to rattle the door and get inside. But more often than not, when it comes to flats, you're going to have access issues. And you don't really want to be stuffing leaflets under the door or leaving them outside. This is bad practice. It's not something a habit that you want to get into, especially if you want to keep the customers and get good response rates for them. You're also going to come across what's called no junk mail or no canvassing stickers. You'll find these in any area. Some people just don't want to receive leaflets. In fact, some people take great offence to receiving advertising material through their letterbox for one reason or another. So they'll go to the trouble of sticking a no junk mail or no canvassing sticker on their letterbox or up in their windows. You never want to post into them. I can tell you from experience, when I used to do this full time, I've had droppers that have done it before. The headache and problems that it can create. Obviously everybody's different, guys, but if someone specifically asked you not to post leaflets into their letterbox and you go ahead and do it, some people can make a big problem and a big headache for you. They phone the companies, they complain. It's not good for customer relations, and as well as that, they're unlikely to use the service that's being advertised. So essentially you're just wasting both yours and the client's printed material, and printed material isn't cheap. You're going to come across a lot of other problems as well. You may have trouble finding some letterboxes. Some of the letterboxes may be damaged. You may have access issues. There could be dogs. Dogs are something you definitely need to look out for. But I'm going to show you a little bit of me actually out delivering, so that you can get an idea of what we're doing as well, and to show you how to hold the leaflets and how to sort them as you go down the road, so that you can be kind of forearmed with the best thing to do. If you're doing shared delivery runs with 5 or 6 leaflets on, it can be challenging to hold them and sort them and post them and move and do all the things you need to do at one time, and it does take some practice. I actually had my wife out delivering with me. It was her first time doing it, and I kind of take for granted that I did spend a long time doing this in the past, and probably delivered hundreds of thousands of leaflets over the years, so I'm quite quick and efficient at it. But for somebody doing it for the first time, it can be a little bit fiddly, and occasionally a little bit awkward. So you'll have to get into your own rhythm and your own stride. And the more you do it, the better and faster you're going to be at it. Hi guys, so we're out in leafleting. Trying to do about an hour or so every evening, as well as on the weekends. Just going to try and show you a little bit of what we're doing. I'm on my own, so it may be difficult to film, but I'm going to do my best. As you can see, we're walking along with a stack of various leaflets. In this particular run, we've got 5, including our own one that we're putting out. And as you're going along, you're going to want to be sorting these into bundles like such, so that you can post them all through the letterbox in one smooth motion. You want to be trying to put them all the way through the letterbox, because if you don't, they fall out, they blow away. I've seen a lot of shoddy leafleting around here, things left in the letterboxes. I'm sure you're going to see a bit as I try and film what we're doing here. So you want to go to the door, post it all the way through. As we're going along, you can see we are sorting them into various bundles again. Fold it over all the way through. And as you're going along, between each door you're sorting them ready to go, so you can walk straight up, post them through, and then straight away we're sorting them into the next pile again. And the more leaflets you've got from different businesses, the harder this is going to be. Various letterboxes as well. This one's a bit different, requires more force to go through, but you'll get to know as you're going along what to do with them. So as you're going along, you want to kind of plot your route before you set off. You want to be sort of going up and down. It's quite easy to become disorientated while you're leafleting. So you want to always be looking at the map, having half an idea and relaying that into how it looks in real life. But you don't want to just be sporadically doing it. I've seen people going back and forth across the street. That's a crazy way to leaflet. Try and work in straight lines and try and complete like a course. So you want to go up, back down, up and back down. You want to always be aware of where you've left off and where you're going next. I don't know if you saw there again, guys, it's another leaflet that's been left hanging halfway out of the door. And it's just poor craftsmanship. You don't ever want to be doing that. Like I say, not good for anybody to be doing that. Every time, all the way through. Every time. We're not going to be pushing other people's leaflets in from their shoddy leafleters because we don't want rival companies going through with ours either. Hi guys, so as we're going along, just watch what we're doing here with the leaflets. You can sort of get a better angle now of how we're holding them all stacked together. As we're going along, we're sorting them into a pile so that each one goes through the letterbox in one smooth motion. Thanks. No. So that's us delivering. I'd like to talk a little bit about route optimization as well. And what I mean by that is you never really want to be out posting leaflets for very little money, especially on shared routes. It's like we discussed in a previous video. Your kind of baseline that you're looking to make per thousand is £75. Ideally you want more, but that is kind of got to be the bottom line in order for you to pay somebody to do it and still be able to make a little bit of money in the middle for fronting the money and for having the work and taking all the risk. So you may find that you have to sit on certain sections. Now at the moment, we started out with 2 customers and that's how the route started. We picked up another customer, but they didn't want all of the area distributed. They only wanted a few particular sections, give us 3,000. So we've changed the area that we was doing and gone to the other area. So we've now got 3 paying leaflets on this run. I'm seeing somebody next week who is very likely to give us leaflets, 10,000 that can go anywhere. It's a roofing company. They're not really very particular where they go. So we're kind of sitting to try and make sure that we can have at least 3 on the latter part of the run. So you always want to be trying to optimize it. And if it gets to a stage where you haven't got enough paying leaflets on that run to make it worthwhile, then you simply hold it. You explain to the client that you've got other people that are waiting to have their material printed. You waffle them a little bit, and you try and delay it for as long as much as possible, really. But you always want to be trying to optimize the route to make the maximum profit that you can from that. You're going to have to walk to 1,000 letterboxes, or you're going to have to pay somebody to walk to 1,000 letterboxes, regardless of if you post 1 or 10 leaflets. You're still going to walk the same amount. So you want to be paid the maximum amount you can for walking that distance. So as well as that, something else I'd like to talk a little bit about is recruitment and advertising via distribution. Now, one of the most effective tools for recruitment and for advertising is to post your own leaflet. As you can see here, we've had these printed up. They're quite small. They're not very big. They're not very expensive. These were £50 to have 10,000 printed, but it's double-sided. And this serves 3 purposes. You're going to post one of these through every letterbox along with the other leaflets. This serves 3 purposes. Firstly, one side is leaflet distributors wanted in your area and some details to inquire, and you're trying to sell the job off as something people can do in their own time, working from home. The idea being, when you recruit someone, that you will give them 1,000 letterboxes to visit, a route with 1,000 letterboxes. You'll drop the leaflets to their house with the map. You'll get them to download the tracker, and they'll have a week or 2 weeks to deliver that as they feel fit to do so. So it can be quite a flexible position. Your target audience for recruitment is generally going to be people like maybe mums who have got a few hours free in the day but haven't got enough time to commit to a full-time 9-to-5 job. A lot of retired people, it seems to suit, like fairly healthy retired people who just want something to do to get out of the house. It seems to suit people who want to make a bit of extra money around their current job as well, although they can be less reliable because they already have commitments. And the other category of people is young people, students that are in college or university. Although I've found in the past that they tend to be the least reliable. Doesn't mean to say that every one of them is, but from experience, they tend to be less reliable. So you're going to post this out. You will get responses. I've had a lot of responses so far. You're going to look to pay people anywhere from £50 to £70 per 1,000. And you're going to have to set up the pricing structure yourself, really. But you never want to pay them more than you know you can get for a round. The other side is advertising for your own company. And it essentially says, are you seeing this leaflet? And it goes on to say that if you're reading this leaflet, so are your customers. And if you're seeing this leaflet, then you already know that we deliver. And we do what we say that we're going to do. And on the bottom it says, this could be your leaflet. Get in touch to find out how. So you're targeting local business owners in their own house. And again, the roofing company that I'm seeing next week is a lead that's come from distributing. And the Indian restaurant that we signed up this week, as well as knocking on their door, one of the local staff there actually had one of these come through their door as well. Hence now the owner knows that we actually do deliver the leaflets, and it inspires a lot of confidence. Now, the third purpose that this serves, which is probably something you may not even think of, you're leaving your details with the people. So if any mistake or incident happens, anything that disgruntles a member of the public in the house that you're posted in, if you accidentally post a no junk mail, or if you end up accidentally double posting to a house, or don't close their gate, or wake up their dog, or any number of gripes that people can have with this industry sometimes. If you don't have this, they're going to take that complaint and that gripe straight to your customer. They're going to call the number on the leaflet that you've distributed to the restaurant or the service or whatever it is, and say, I'm not happy with the way this has been delivered. This can obviously make you lose customers. It can create problems. It gives the image that you're not being professional. However, they've got your details here. And if they've got the details for the company, for the leaflet company that's posted it, this is going to be their first port of call. This is going to be where they're going to direct the complaint. So this gives you a huge opportunity to solve that problem, to offer an apology, absolve the complaint before this even reaches your customer's ears. And I have had that in the past doing this as well, where small problems and incidences have happened, but rather than calling the client, because this has been posted through their letterbox, they've called the company to complain. And this proves invaluable. If you're out posting anyway, I cannot recommend enough. Spend a little bit of money. It's not expensive. Get your own leaflets printed and get them posted. Create a presence in your area. Make that area yours. Make every leaflet that goes through a door, make people think of you and think of your company. The last thing to sort of talk a little about is communication with the customer. So you're going to want to try and every week or so give your customer an update. You can do this by calling them or texting them, emailing them, whatever you find is the most efficient way to communicate with them. But give them a call, ideally on a Monday if there's been some distribution done on the weekend, just to let them know, look, we've done this area, we're going on to this area next. That also gives them the opportunity to monitor responses, because you may tell them, oh, we posted in this section of this postcode over the weekend, we put 3,000 leaflets there. And when they check back on their orders and go, oh, actually, we had 4 or 5 orders that were generated from that area, so it must be working. It also gives them the opportunity, if they know someone in that area, to call them while it's fresh in their minds and say, did you get my leaflet come through your letterbox? There's no point telling them a week later or 2 weeks later, because the person's forgotten that they've received it. They've forgotten that they had orders from there. So always try and communicate with them where you've been and where you're going next. And that will serve you dividends in terms of building trust with the client. And that is pretty much where we're at, guys. So we're going to carry on with what we're doing. We're going to keep distributing. In the next video, we're going to talk a little bit about the final step, which is how do you create an invoice, get paid, and how do you track your accounts without spending money for things like Sage accounting. How can you get started just using Excel spreadsheets to track it, and how can you generate a professional looking invoice with nothing more than Microsoft Word. And then we're going to look at what stage you should send the invoice and how you're going to, the information you're going to provide along with the invoice to prevent any disputes. I'm also pleased to say that while we're doing this, Flip 4 has already had some inquiries. We're going to kind of carry that on in the background. I want to finish this before we go on to that, so that you guys can see how we finished this one. Kind of 50-50 at the minute. We may keep this going as well as carrying on with the flips, because this is quite a valuable tool for advertising anyway, and it's something that I personally am quite familiar with, and it seems to be working well at the moment. And we want to look in the future a bit further down the line. One of the flips that I've got in mind is actually how to sell a business, or how to have a stake in a business that you're not actually a part of. So for example, along with these leaflets at the moment, my wife is actually starting a personal training business, taking care of all of the advertising for that and posting the leaflets and helping to build it. And in exchange for that, I'm going to have a stake within that company that will continue to pay me long after the startup stage and long after the help is no longer needed. With Flip 4, I've actually got a good friend who specialises in the type of business that we're doing. He's got a lot of contacts. I think the ultimate idea with Flip 4 and with this is to get it to a stage where you're no longer doing the work. You're the middleman. You are doing the sales. You're finding the work, finding the customer. You're finding a person who's got the skills to do it. You're putting them together. You're making something in the middle. And I think that is the trick to all good business. So stay tuned, guys. And I'm looking forward to the next stage where we can finally get to the most important part, which is money time. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching.